All right, here we are. Good morning. Hey, happy Thursday, Ponderers, one and all. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I am so glad that you've joined us. Welcome aboard. It is great to have you, as always. And just in case you're new to the program, this is Pondering, where we ponder things. We tell people a couple things. We say, get the facts. The old saying, don't let the facts get in the way of a good argument. We don't agree with that here. We want you to get the facts. We don't want you to argue, but we do listen to other points of view. We're welcoming those. We can disagree. We just try not to be disagreeable on this show. We do it every Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are on multiple podcast venues all around the world, as well as here in the U.S. We have listeners in California and Maine, Virginia, and of course, many here in Connecticut, Massachusetts. I mean, we're all over the place, and it's great to have you aboard and to be able to speak together, to talk together, to reason together. We encourage people not to check their brains at the door, but to think through, based on fact, what they have hear and what culture is saying. And we also encourage Christians in particular not to check their faith at the door, but let your faith dictate everything. Your belief in the God of the universe and the Word of God should dictate how you vote, how you work, how your relationships roll, the whole shebang. And we encourage this because we believe it's the right way to live. So, guys, have a great time talking about stuff today. I hope you will. We enjoy that. And how, you might ask, can I participate? Well, you can type into the live stream, as many are doing. Good morning to Wayne and Susie and Laura and Fred and Jerry and anybody I missed out there. You can just say hi. You can make a comment. You can suggest a topic. You can disagree. Whatever you want to do. It's all good. That's one way to participate. You can also email us at ponderingradio@gmail.com. We read those with great interest. You can call us and leave a voicemail if that's your thing. And you can do that 24/7, 365 at 860-500-7163, 860-500-7163. Laura says, good, how you doing? Yeah, that's right. How else? Well, of course, you can type on the live stream, as I mentioned, but you can post on the Pondering Radio page around the clock, making your ideas, thoughts, and opinions known. And we love to hear from you. So I hope, again, you're having a good week. Just a little programming note. Tomorrow we will not be live, but of course, previous episodes of Pondering will be posted on your favorite podcast venues, as well as on the Pondering Radio page. And so we hope you'll take advantage of that. We'll be back with you live Monday morning, and for most of next week, if not all of next week, we're kind of on vacation, heading up to the Cape for a few days. I will be working from the Cape during some of that time, but not sure what kind of Wi-Fi coverage I'm going to have, and whether I'll be traveling or what I'll be doing. So we'll see. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I know we should be on the air. All right. Hey, I had a couple things I wanted to share with you. So I know we get tired of the COVID thing, but I'm sort of on a personal campaign to calm down, get people. I'm the calm down guy right now. That's kind of my thing at work, at church, just about everywhere. I'm Mr. Mr. Calm Down. Susie says sleeping late tomorrow. Yay! Thank you, Suze. I've been so along the lines of the calm down. Don't panic. It's okay. It's a lot better than it sounds. We're going to get through this. Let's not go crazy. Let's reopen schools. Let's go back to work. That's me right now. All right. The statement I made earlier, don't let the facts get in the way of a good argument. That is exactly what's happening with our media and with many of our liberal governors and leaders. So I was listening to the Ingram Report. If you've never listened to Laura Ingram, I highly recommend it. She's great. She's on the Fox News channel. She's also a radio commentator, and she's written some books. And I like Laura. So Laura was doing an interview with a couple of officials from Ohio, I think Florida and Virginia. No, she didn't interview those from Florida and Virginia, but she looked at data from them and some reports. And here's another reason why I keep saying the numbers are lying, or people are lying with the numbers, okay? Um, and that there's no reason to panic here. Um, so you've heard me say on the show that the number of deaths is highly exaggerated. And I've told you some reasons for that that I've witnessed and that others have reported to me. One was, as I shared before, that if someone is terminally ill but they contract COVID 19 and they die, they list it as a COVID related death in many states. And that reporting COVID cases, there are financial incentives sometimes for institutions and nursing homes to do that. Um, that's one reason the numbers are artificially high. In other words, someone dies with COVID but no symptoms, it's not really a COVID death, right? If I have COVID 19 and I step off my curb here in front of the house and get run over by a garbage truck, it wasn't a COVID 19 death, right? I mean, even if I had severe COVID 19, I could have survived it if I hadn't stepped in front of the garbage truck. All right, so that's one reason that we've talked about. There are false reports. People who are in a hospital or in a nursing home in the same room as someone who dies of COVID 19 or across the hall. I had one case where the person was across the hall and they weren't even tested, but they died, and people said, "Yeah, I think that might have been COVID. That was probably COVID. That was COVID 19 death." Yeah, yeah. Well, we don't know that, right? And then there are just flat out lies. People that die and there's no symptoms, no test done, but we say it was COVID because it's an advantage to us to say it was COVID. All of that has happened. I've witnessed it, talked about it on the show. True stuff. But Laura has introduced, with the help of others that have reported this, a new reason why the death toll is higher, or well, not the death toll, but in this case, the reported number of cases is off. So there's I've talked about this. There's the death toll numbers off, and there's the reported number of cases that are off. In some of these states where they're talking about a surge, Florida, for one, is one example. Ohio, Virginia's a big one. People are being tested multiple times, and each time they're tested and they test positive, it's reported as a separate case. Same person. One report was of a person that had been tested 18 times while they had COVID 19, tested positive 18 times, and it was reported as 18 cases. So you following me now where this is going? So we say massive surge. Well, how much of that massive surge was multiple reporting of the same positive patient? You see, and that's the problem. There's that number then is skewed. The data is off. People have gotten upset that the president has asked to have all the numbers now sent to the White House, not to the government in Washington, to his administration, as opposed to the CDC. Well, one of the reasons is this very problem, that it's been reported. Even the CDC has admitted that their numbers were off. There was a case or a report 2 months ago where they admitted in, I think, Pennsylvania, that their numbers were off by at least 25%. Well, if you're in business and your budget's off by 25%, you're in trouble. But with the government, yeah, it's whatever. So who knows that the White House will do better than the CDC, but they can't do much worse. So that, and I wanted to show you, the other reason I said that the numbers spiked in Florida and Texas and other places was the number of tests now available. Remember back when this all started, they told us, we don't have enough test kits. That's why we're having a problem. It's the president's fault. Not enough test kits. President Trump's killing America because there's not enough test kits. And that was Governor Cuomo and others, that was their mantra for a while. And now they're inundated with test kits, so you don't hear that anymore. But those tests have been used. And as I said, if you get a positive and then they test you 2 days later and you're positive again, they're reporting it twice in many states, in many cases. So again, is it really a spike? The other thing, and I think I shared this yesterday, they were saying that something, I don't know the number, but I want to say it's somewhere around a third of the cases in Florida in particular were Yankees who came south for the summer to get away from the restrictions in the north. So there's New Englanders fleeing to Florida because they're tired of wearing masks everywhere, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? Some of them were COVID positive. They didn't know it. They didn't have any symptoms. But they get down there and then they go to a testing station. Maybe they start to feel a little ish. So they go to a testing station and we find out they have COVID-19. So is the spike because they opened restaurants? Or is the spike because of Yankees that fled south, multiple reporting of the same cases, etc.? And just to show you that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the availability of test kits, I have mine. Look at that. See, I'm tested weekly, and there's a testing center right here in Newington that I go to. In fact, I know a couple of the wonderful ladies who run it. This is the self-collection kit from Pixel, and I have been given this. My director sent it to me so I could test at home and not have to go to the testing center every Monday because I'm just busy. I'm too busy. I can't be sitting there in line waiting for another test. Although last time I went through, I will say, it didn't take long. I mean, I was in and out of there, I don't know, probably 15, 20 minutes. The time before that, I was busy. It was crazy. But the other Monday, I was in there, and there were only 2 other cars in front of me, so that was pretty cool. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to show it to you. But the availability of these things is astronomical now. So that's why you're not hearing any more complaints. They can't use the same argument against the president that he's not getting out enough test kits or whatever, and that's why we're all dying, which we're not, but they say we are or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. Here is the important information before you collect your sample. Is it a weekday? Have you confronted FedEx's drop, or have you confirmed FedEx's Dropbox pickup times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And then they tell you how it could be rejected and when it's going to be accepted and blah, and blah, and blah. And there's a little prepaid package here to send in your results and get or send in your collection and then get a result back from them. All right, so let me open this. I think these must be the tests themselves. I feel like, I like those goofy fake packages you give out on Christmas where there's like a box and a box and a box and a box and a box. And you have this massive box when you start, and when you get done, it's about that big, and there's like a piece of candy in it or something, or those little dolls that they do. Where's that? Is that Sweden? They have the little ceramic dolls inside the doll, inside the doll. You get to the last one, and she's about that big. When you start out, it's the size of a house. Or I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay, so let me show you what's inside the kit here. Let me just make sure you can see. Obviously, you got to have the Q-tips, right? That's gotta have that. There's a little bottle, a little collection tube to put the Q-tip in once you swab. Okay, you gotta have those. Then I don't know what this is. Oh, I'm assuming this is just packing material to keep things from breaking, the other tubes that are in here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you take the old swabberoni, right? The Q-tip. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you go over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not with all of them, but just one Q-tip. And then you take the Q-tip, you stick it inside here. Then you take this, you put it inside here, and then you ship it off. And they tell you, hopefully within a couple days, either you're COVID positive or you're not. And I've been tested a couple times. I've been negative, which is another reason why I guess I'm so passionate about getting people to calm down. I'm in and out of facilities, every week that have had COVID outbreaks. I wash my hands. I use sanitizer. I wear a mask. Sometimes I wear gloves and a gown even. One time I wore a mask, a face shield, or goggles. That was a face shield. Gloves, a gown, and footies, little booties over my shoes even. I don't do that, thankfully, every time, because especially when it's 90 degrees out, that is a death sentence for yours truly. Forget about COVID-19. I mean, it's just, yeah, heat exhaustion. So anyway, I'll deal with that later. Put it back. But that gives you an idea how available these things are. I mean, it's everywhere. You can get tested all the time now. You can go to the test center here in Newington and just drive right in. You have to give your name, show your driver's license, etc. But it's not hard to get tested. A lot of people are, because people are scared. or they've been told they should, or they have a headache one day, so they run over to the test center, and this is happening. And listen, Florida is in the South in general, but Florida in particular, filled with elderly folks like myself and older, right? And elderly folks are exceptionally paranoid about their health, and they've been told they're most at risk. So when all of a sudden these test kits become available and these test centers are open, and everybody has access, what are they going to do? Uh, what are they going to do? They're going to run to the test center. And when they run to the test center, some of them are going to be COVID positive, even though they didn't have symptoms. And some of them will have minor symptoms and they're going to test positive. And yes, there'll be some serious cases too. But to think there's this massive spike down there, and it's because they opened a couple restaurants, and oh my gosh, or they went to the beach. Where's the beach? I'm going to go to the beach, sit 50 yards away from the next person on a blanket in the sun, which COVID doesn't like. And that's why everybody's dying. It's just, we've got to think, guys. We have to think. So when you put all this together, the fake numbers, the inflated numbers, um, the massive number of people that probably haven't and don't even know, including here in the Northeast. We're pointing the finger now at Florida. Oh, Florida, bad, bad, bad. No, Texas, bad, bad, bad. They opened up everything, and that's why everybody's sick. No, that's really not why it's spiking, as I've already explained. Um, but we have multiple cases here that aren't reported. Why? Because we don't know we have them. We don't. Not everybody is tested until they feel something. Especially if they're healthy, they're working, they're busy, they're not going to run to a test center unless they have to, or they feel a symptom that drives them there. So I would argue that we probably have more cases here than some of these other states. We just don't know about it because we're not, like some of the seniors in Florida, as apt to run to a test center unless, again, our job requires it or we start to feel something, like don't feel well. So my point in all this is the death rate, the severity rate of this is far lower than we have been told, probably somewhere around 0.05%. We're, in other words, 99.5% survival. The other thing I wanted to talk about quickly is the the question of schools, and we did get into this yesterday, but Laura also, I'm sorry, it wasn't Laura, it was a separate report I listened to, two of them yesterday regarding the schools and the vulnerability of kids to COVID-19. But let me catch up with some of the comments first before we do that. Um, Fred says test kits, the new tax on the people. Yeah, right. We'll be paying for those. Our government will give us a break. Yeah, on the cost of those. Oh goodness. Oh man, I got to catch up. I got to get. I've been. Susan says she loves Laura Ingram. Wayne lost us but found us again. Ernie's with us. Good morning, Ernie. Stella! She's with us. Good morning, Stella. Love you, kiddo. Hope you're doing well. Jerry says California too. Highly skeptical about the truth in the numbers. Oh, amen. And Wayne says, I don't understand the reasoning behind this. Well, we don't know, Wayne, honestly, but we can speculate, right? And I love Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. So where's the money in inflating the test numbers, inflating the count of COVID cases, causing panic about resurgence and second waves, keeping the schools and businesses closed, the churches closed? Where's the money, so to speak? Where's the payoff? Who benefits? In other words, there's a political benefit. If you want to make it look like under Donald Trump, the world is collapsing and people are suffering and dying and the economy crashed because of his policies or his poor leadership, then obviously the longer you keep things shut down, the better off you are making that case. So I think that's one issue. We're having a connection problem all of a sudden here. Let's see. No, let me try taking that off. See if that helps. Yeah, I don't know, folks. If you're listening via podcast, we're just having a Facebook connection issue with our Wi-Fi. So we're going to try that again. See if we can get through. All right. Well, I'm going to finish, and then I'm going to go back on is what I'm going to do. All right, folks, this is part two of Pondering for Thursday, the 16th of July. I don't know what happened. It's just the signal died. Trying to reconnect didn't work, so I just finished it, posted it, and started over. So hopefully, those of you who were watching can rejoin us at this point. Um, and I'm sorry because I lost some of your comments in the process of doing that. But Wayne was asking about what's the point of misreporting the numbers, misreporting the spikes, and all that stuff. And I was saying, number one, there's a political advantage if you're liberal to try to make the president look like he's failing and the economy's crashing because of him, and people are dying in the streets because of his leadership or lack thereof, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be one reason I think. I think there's also a certain amount of control, power, et cetera, that's a little bit of a high for some of these governors, some of these leaders, being able to tell people what to do and when to do it and what they can and can't do. I think there's a surge of, I don't know, pleasure, joy, excitement they get out of that. And I know that's probably not the major reason, but I think it is a factor for some of them. Um, and, maybe there's federal aid tied to some of this. It's like reporting the numbers as an institution. If you're going to get aid for COVID patients, there's a built-in incentive to want to have more COVID patients. I hate to say it, but I think there's some truth in that too. And then from the media's perspective, hey, bad news sells, baby. More newspapers, more ad space, all that stuff, right, comes from being able to hype the negative. We've talked about that on the show. So I think all of that plays into it. Maybe there's other factors too. But the fact is, absolute, unquestionable fact is, we are misreporting numbers. There are COVID deaths being reported. There weren't COVID deaths. There are COVID cases being reported multiple times that affect the quote surge reports. There are people moving into new states from the north, bringing COVID with them, not knowing they have it until they get down there and get rushed through a testing center because everybody's panicked. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a spike. Well, is it a spike because they opened the beach? Or was it a spike because of some Yankee that moved down there to avoid the mask policies in Massachusetts or New Jersey or New York, or Connecticut? So those factors are all there. And the other thing I've said is there are probably twice as many cases as we have. We might see spikes as we start testing with our little test kits, like I showed you. But I think there are many other cases out there unreported. Nobody's been tested. They don't feel symptoms, but they're out there. So when you factor all that together, you say, okay, the number of actual cases is probably astronomically higher. The number of deaths is much lower, maybe half as many, that are actually COVID-caused deaths. And again, we probably, in the hospice work I do, we probably see, 600-700 deaths um, in from January till now, between the different offices I worked in. How many of those are actual deaths purely from COVID-19? Nothing else, just COVID-19? Uh, Maybe one or two. Um, so, anyhow, the numbers are inflated, but I think, therefore, the good news is that the death ratio is probably 99% survival. And that means it's not something we should be panicked over, shutting everything down, running for the hills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing, though, about schools, we started to get into that, and there's a couple new reports out of Germany and Sweden, which are very interesting to read and study. Um, I want to get this right. I think in Germany, it was less than 0.5% of the kids in school actually had tested positive after schools remaining open during the COVID crisis. Sweden, it was similar, very, very low number. And there was no evidence of any transference, meaning that these kids were carriers, um, or that kids could be carriers in the same way adults were. So if that's true, then, and it is also interesting to note that Sweden stayed open throughout the whole crisis. They never shut the schools down. So despite that, they had, a fraction of a percent of the kids that actually had COVID, and no evidence that they were passing it on to their parents or other people. So if that's true, there would be no reason for us to shut down, and yet we are. We're the only Western civilization, Western nation that's shut down their schools, and some statisticians, doctors, experts. In fact, the other night, I forget if it was Hannity or someone like that ran a study. They called and they had no, I'm sorry, I take it back. It wasn't Hannity. It was CNN. So it was like a liberal outlet. They interviewed 5 doctors who were experts in infectious disease. And they asked them, if school's open, will you send your kid to school? All 5 said yes. Absolutely, no hesitation, in a heartbeat. Can we do it now? One of them actually said, can I open today? And they were shocked. CNN was like, because that's not what they wanted to hear or expected to hear. But the reason is some of these studies out of Sweden and Germany, et cetera, where kids are not carrying it and they're not getting it. You say, well, what about the teachers? Well, teachers are exposed to worse things at school. My wife will testify, probably with more risk than COVID-19 in terms of death, at least. But there are ways to give, teachers wear masks or take certain precautions. But the argument the liberals are making, the governors involved in particular, we want to save the children. Was it Nancy Pelosi said the other day, the president doesn't care about your children? Yeah, that's it. He hates kids, so he wants to wipe them out, and that's why he's opening the schools. Of course, that makes total sense. There's clear evidence of that. Anyway, but the facts are no. So again, should we panic? Keep the schools closed? Keep the businesses closed? No, no, no. It's time to calm down and take a deep breath. Have a little faith, too. Where's God in all this? Hello, Christians. I don't mean we be stupid, but we don't have to be fearful. Remember, Scripture says perfect love casts out fear, and it also tells us that God is love. And so we should be the last ones to be panicking, blowing the whistle, running around. The sky is falling like Chicken Little. Sky is falling, the sky is falling. I don't think so. All right. I know I'm over time. Let me say hi to a couple more people. Linda Lou, good morning to you, my dear. Wayne caught me again, found me. Fred says, Angel and I were discussing starting a new clothing line called Infected. Nice. Well, hey, stranger things have sold, my friend. It could work. You never know. It could work. I don't know. But, again, just to be clear, it's Pastor Joel suggesting nobody wears a mask. No, I'm not suggesting that, especially if you're going into places where there's, COVID outbreak, or you want to show love for people who might be afraid. You go into Walmart, you wear your mask, or you might even not even get into some stores now without it. I'm not suggesting we don't do that. I'm not suggesting that we, are mean and argumentative. I'm just saying that being a voice of reason and suggesting that when the media gets all excited and hyped about 3 million cases, just remind somebody that's panicked if they hear that a bunch of those have been multiple tests of the same person reported in multiple states repeatedly. That many of those cases reported is not because all of a sudden there's a spike, but it's because people finally got tested because they were required to or encouraged to or just panicked. And that the death rate is probably a fraction of a percent, that 99% of the people are surviving this. So those are some things just to help calm down those that hear these stats and worry. And I'm in and out of nursing homes every day. I've seen multiple cases of COVID-19. Most of the people that have it don't even know they have it, and they survive it. And yes, I've talked to some people who have had severe cases, and they've survived it. And yes, I've also done a memorial service to someone who didn't make it. I will add, though, that most of the people I know that haven't made it are people that have had multiple other comorbid conditions. So be of good cheer. We will get through this. All right, guys, we got to go. Listen, have a great day. Stay positive. Stay calm. Smile. Wear a mask if you need to, which is not in your car or when you're walking through the woods. Okay, just probably not help. It might hurt you more. Honestly, doctors will suggest that wearing a mask all the time is probably not good for you. Your body expels certain toxins through your breath when you breathe out. You're keeping those in circulation by keeping the mask here. So, wear it when you have to for protection, but when you don't, take it off, please. All right? And keep thinking, keep pondering, stay in the Word, keep praying, keep pondering. We'll see you next week. Again, we won't be on tomorrow, but tell your friends, neighbors, and strangers about it. Have them come and join us so we can continue to hopefully spread some reason and rationality. And I will be with you on Monday. In the meantime, be blessed, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.